It was meant to be a typical night of entertainment, another light-hearted episode of Jimmy Kimmel Live filled with jokes, celebrity charm, and cheerful banter. But what unfolded on that stage with Sean Penn was anything but typical. From the moment he stepped into the spotlight, something about Sean's body language hinted that this wouldn't be a routine interview. He looked more intense than usual, walking briskly to the couch without much acknowledgement of the crowd's cheers. Kimmel, ever the polished host, cracked a few jokes to break the ice, but Sean's smile was brief, tight-lipped. His eyes told a different story, a serious one, focused, perhaps even restless. As Kimmel leaned in to begin the interview, he seemed unaware of the tension brewing beneath Penn's surface. The audience, laughing and applauding, couldn't have guessed that in just a few minutes, this appearance would spiral into an unforgettable clash that would leave both Manna and everyone watching speechless. Jimmy began the conversation with a standard question about Sean's new project, a film that dealt with global humanitarian issues, but he did so with a comedic twist, aiming for laughs. Sean responded with a firm, unsmiling tone, immediately launching into a passionate monologue about the state of the world and the crisis the film aimed to spotlight. His words were heavy, charged with conviction, and clearly not the light fare late-night audiences expected. Kimmel nodded, listening, but tried to shift the conversation back to a more humorous tone. That's when the first spark flew. Sean looked directly at Jimmy and challenged him on why serious topics are constantly turned into punchlines. The audience went quiet. Jimmy, clearly caught off guard, tried to recover by saying it was just the show's nature to entertain, to make people laugh. But Penn wasn't buying it. He pushed back, arguing that laughter was becoming a mask for ignorance. Penn's voice grew stronger, more agitated, as he began listing recent events: wars, environmental disasters, political corruption, and questioned why platforms like Kimmel's didn't do more to highlight real issues instead of celebrity gossip and viral trends. Kimmel, still attempting to keep the peace, said his show tried to balance humor with substance. Sean cut in, saying balance wasn't enough when people were dying and the planet was burning. He criticized how media outlets, including entertainment programs, often glossed over real suffering in favor of a feel-good narrative. Kimmel, perhaps sensing that things were escalating, tried to steer the conversation to Penn's past humanitarian efforts, hoping it would ground the interview and bring them onto common ground. But Sean was already too worked up. His focus locked on what he saw as a larger systemic problem, and he wasn't about to let it go quietly. The audience, once laughing and cheering, had fallen silent, eyes darting between Kimmel and Penn as the mood grew tense. Sean began citing specific examples from his personal experience: trips to war zones, disaster-struck areas, conversations with displaced families. His voice trembled not with fear but with frustration and urgency. Kimmel nodded, acknowledging the gravity of Penn's words, but there was a visible discomfort in his posture. He glanced at the camera, unsure whether to cut to commercial or try salvaging the interview. The director backstage signaled to keep rolling, hoping the situation would calm on its own. But Sean was now in full stride, criticizing not only the media but also fellow celebrities for staying silent or using their platforms only for brand building. Kimmel interjected that people often fear backlash or being misunderstood, to which Penn replied sharply, then maybe they shouldn't have a platform at all. It was then that Kimmel attempted to change the subject entirely, trying to bring back the light tone with a joke about Sean's past roles and an old viral meme. The joke fell flat. Sean leaned forward and stared at Jimmy for a few seconds before saying, "Is that really what matters to you right now?" The silence that followed was deafening. Kimmel looked around, smiling nervously, unsure how to respond. The audience didn't laugh. Some whispered to each other, realizing this moment wasn't scripted, wasn't part of some clever segment. It was raw and real. Penn continued, saying the world didn't need more distraction, it needed people who were willing to speak uncomfortable truths. He accused Kimmel and shows like his of playing it safe, of keeping people asleep with applause. Kimmel tried to respond, but his voice was overshadowed by Penn's intensity. The temperature on set seemed to rise as both men struggled to control the direction of the conversation. Kimmel, though experienced, had clearly lost control of the segment. Penn, standing firm, now dominated the moment entirely. He looked to the audience and asked them directly, "Do you come here to laugh or to learn? To escape or to confront reality?" It was rhetorical, but powerful. A few people clapped, others remained still. The tension now crackled in the air. Kimmel cleared his throat and said, "Sean, we want to do both. But it's about how you say it." To which Penn replied, "No, it's about whether you say it at all." The back and forth had become personal, less about ideas and more about philosophies clashing live on air, and it was obvious to everyone present that there was no middle ground between the two. At that point, something changed in Penn's demeanor. He stood up, adjusted his blazer, and without saying another word, began walking off stage. Kimmel called after him, "Sean, wait, are you leaving?" But the actor didn't stop. He waved briefly toward the audience and disappeared behind the curtain. The studios sat in stunned silence. Kimmel turned back to the camera, clearly rattled. He chuckled awkwardly and said, "Well, a broken bar that was Sean Penn, folks," attempting to regain composure. The audience gave a half-hearted applause, unsure whether to support the guest or the host. The band played faintly, trying to smooth the transition, but the energy had dramatically shifted. Kimmel's eyes were wide, his smile forced. He looked backstage for cues, clearly shaken. And just like that, one of the most explosive moments in talk show history had unfolded in real time. Backstage reports quickly surfaced. Some crew members claimed Penn had been tense even before the show began. Others said he had asked producers to avoid frivolous questions and warned them he wasn't in the mood for comedy. These warnings, it seems, had gone largely unheeded. Within an hour of the walk-off, clips of the interview flooded social media. #Sean Penn, #Kimmel Clash, and #walk-off trended globally. Opinion was split. Some called Penn a hero for speaking uncomfortable truths. Others labeled him unprofessional and disrespectful. Late-night TV hadn't seen a moment this polarizing in years. News outlets picked up the story. Morning shows replayed the clip. Opinion writers posted think pieces analyzing the cultural implications. And while Kimmel offered no official comment that night, everyone knew a response would come soon. The next day, headlines dominated every major outlet. Kimmel addressed the moment during his next show, taking a surprisingly gracious tone. He admitted it had been one of the most intense interviews of his career. "Sean's passionate," he said. "I respect that. We didn't agree on everything, but I don't hold it against him." He even laughed a little, joking, "It's not the first time someone's walked out on me a broken bar, but definitely the loudest." The audience responded warmly, but the show's tone was still clearly impacted. Gone was the carefree energy. For the first time, Jimmy seemed reflective, even subdued. He emphasized the importance of dialogue, even when it's uncomfortable. That night, to another actor joked nervously about not storming off, which earned a few laughs but couldn't erase the weight left by the previous episode. The ghost of that clash lingered, shaping everything that followed. Meanwhile, Penn remained silent for several days. He declined interview requests, cancelled a few scheduled appearances, and disappeared from public view. Then, in a powerful op-ed, he broke his silence. He didn't apologize, nor did he attack Kimmel. Instead, he outlined his frustrations with the entertainment industry and its tendency to wrap the world's pain in punchlines. He said he walked out not out of anger, but because he realized he was on the wrong platform to deliver the kind of message he wanted to share. His words resonated with many. Activists praised him. Others criticized the format and even called for more balance in late-night programming. The op-ed sparked new debate about what kind of content people truly wanted and what kind of content they actually needed. In the weeks that followed, both Penn and Kimmel found themselves at the center of a broader cultural conversation. Podcasts dissected the moment, YouTubers created reaction videos, and major talk shows invited commentators to weigh in. The debate wasn't just about that interview anymore, it was about what late-night TV should be. Should it stay funny and safe, or could it evolve to include moments of real depth? Kimmel, to his credit, began experimenting with more serious segments in future episodes. Penn, meanwhile, began working on a new independent platform aimed at discussing global crises without filters or laughs. Both men, despite their clash, appeared to have been changed by the experience, and viewers, having witnessed something truly unscripted, began to demand more authenticity from every platform they consumed. There were even rumors that the two had spoken privately, though neither confirmed it. Some said Penn appreciated Kimmel's response. Others claimed the opposite. But what was undeniable was the impact. Television execs began reconsidering how they prep guests. Celebrities were asked more directly about their intentions before stepping on stage. And a new generation of viewers, raised in an era of viral drama and reality TV, found themselves drawn not to perfect interviews but to imperfect, real ones. Kimmel's ratings dipped slightly at first, but then surged as word spread that anything could happen on his show. Penn's image, long considered volatile, took on a new dimension, seen now as both difficult and deeply principled. The line between entertainment and activism had been crossed in one unforgettable moment. Months later, when asked about the moment in a separate interview, Penn finally offered a short reflection. Sometimes you don't walk out because you're angry. You walk out because staying means pretending. It was a powerful line, quoted widely. Kimmel, too, addressed the event on a podcast, saying, "We're both passionate guys. We just happened to clash on national television. That's life." That clash had done more than shake up a show. It had sparked a reevaluation of how truth, emotion, and media coexist. As awards season approached, the clip was even spoofed during a major event, drawing laughs but also respect. Everyone knew that under the surface, that wasn't just a viral clip. It was a moment of raw honesty rarely seen in polished Hollywood. In the end, the memory of Sean Penn walking off Jimmy Kimmel's stage lived on, not just as a dramatic footnote in TV history, but as a symbol of deeper change. It reminded audiences that celebrity interviews could be more than rehearsed banter. It opened the door for honesty, even the uncomfortable kind. And it showed that passion, when unfiltered, can either divide or inspire. Whether you saw Penn's actions as righteous or reckless, you couldn't ignore them. And that, perhaps, was the point all along. The incident blurred the lines between actor and activist, between host and provocateur, between entertainment and confrontation. In doing so, it gave late-night television a moment that would be remembered, replayed, and discussed for years to come.